do you want to have shared resources in your CPI iFlows so you can use the same scripts across multiple iFlows? That's something that I've often been looking for, but it has been really difficult. That's why we've added a function to the Figaf IRT tool that allow you to have shared resources among your CPI development. So why do you need shared resources? It gives you some faster development because you just need to search one place to actually find all the approved scripts, all functions that have been tested, validated, and that you can easily add into these other places. There's one approved place for looking for these things, and then one of the key area around this is what happens if you update it, if you're adding new functions, if you're making modifications to the logging, then you would need to go in through all the different iFlows that are using this and actually change those change the script there, and that's really time consuming. With this solution, we actually have a way that you can just say update and apply to all changes. And then obviously you want to test that if you're making a change to an iFlow that it does not affect anything else. So let me show you what the process is like, and it's one of the little more complicated flows that we have created to make this happen, but it simplifies the development, making it a lot easier to run these different things. So from an iFlow resource, you can go in and select it and say this is a resource. So in the Figaf IRT tool, we have downloaded all your CPI content, all mappings, flows, scripts, stuff like that. And it's based on that you can go in and create it as a new resource, say that this should be reused across other instances. And then you enter a name for it, and we would prefix it with shared. And that would then, as a way to understand that this is a shared resource, so people will easily be able to identify it's actually a shared resource we have here, and know that that is something that affects other places also. So once you have done that, created a new resource, the IRT tool would then update the resource in your iFlow and say now this is shared underscore our script name, and then you need to make some manual changes and start using that script compared to the old one in the different resources. And obviously some of this can be automated if required, and you actually also have an option that you can say I want to keep my old name, but in this other place we want to call it shared. But I think as a recommendation it would be difficult actually having real names and shared names and knowing if it's actually shared. So that's the reason why we have selected this shared as a prefix. From other iFlows you can then add this from the IRT application. You can go and select an iFlow, and then you can actually add one of these objects, one of these shared resources that you have created, and then it will add this to the resource. It will create a new version or new draft version of the iFlow where this new shared version is then used, and you can then apply it. You can then, if you're making a modification in any of these iFlows that are using this, it will then go back, update the shared resource, create a new version of it, and then you have the option to apply it to different locations. And then last, we want to make it possible to actually test these changes, because if you're making a change to a shared resource, you want to ensure that it does not affect anything else, and that is, we haven't done that one yet, but that is one of the things that will be pretty simple also to test, because you would have test cases for all your CPI flows. So let me show you how this actually works. So here I have my CPI iFlow. I have a resource here called header XSLT. In my iFlow, I then have here's the information about the iFlow. I have my message mapping XSLT here, and what I can do is I can then create as a shared resource. and we can see the name that it selects up here. We can then do this, and this will create the new version and upload this to our CPI and create and say we have now added this resource to our iFlow. So if we go back to our iFlow, we can see it's now actually a shared version we have here. So we can see the name here, and we can see what are the shared resources in this tool. We can then see that we have added another script that's called edit shared, and we can then update our XSLT to use it. And this could obviously be improved, that we can actually select this automatically, but for now it's probably better to have it as a standard way of handling these things. So what we'll do now is we'll now create a new version of this. Okay, so now we have created our shared mapping, and what we can do is we can add it to another iFlow, and I'll put it to this one. And in general, we just want to add it as a new resource. We can also link it with an existing resource in it, but so if you already have some accessing or something like that. But in general, I recommend using it as a new resource. If you make it as a linked one, it will still be called edit header, and then the ERT tool will just know that these two are identical. So now we have created this, we can go back to our package and edit version number 2. So here we have our resource. We can see that this one has now been added. We can go in, edit this, select the new one. We can just make a small demo, just put in a 2 here, and we will say OK, share, and save as a version. So we've made a modification in this. We could obviously keep it as it is, but it's probably more interesting to see that we can actually make a new change of this. And if we then synchronize this whole thing again, and then we'll download all data, and we'll see this small change. So now everything has been synchronized. If we go to our shared resource, we can see this is now in version 3. And we can then say what version was applied to which one. And it seems, so we can see here in our normal XSLT, it was not up to date. So we can go in here and say update version, update resource, and then that will go in, update the script in this version with this new modification. So making it a lot easier to see what was going in here. So if we go to this one again, we can then see that our script has been changed. So we can see that this one has then been changed with this value number 2. So it shows that you can actually change and manage all of these. And then obviously next step is that you can actually add this shared ticket to a ticket, our service request tool, create a new ticket. So we'll have our shared service request. In here we can then see all the things that has been assigned to it. We can look up all the relevant test cases if we have any for these things, and then we can run tests and validate that this thing does not have any impact on what you have seen with the data. I hope you can see some of this and the interest in this. You can try it out. It will be released soon at figaf.com/IRT, and we also have a cloud version of it, /ERT cloud. It's the same version that are running that will give you access to these two things, or to the shared resource, plus a whole host of other CPI, PI related resources, making it a lot easier to run your SAP integration. If you like this, have any comments, questions, do post them in below the video or send me an email. I would like to hear your thoughts on this. Thank you.